Welcome to Content Chaos with George and Call, a weekly podcast diving straight into meaningful conversations about navigating modern life. Using their weekly review framework, they explore personal growth, professional insights, and cultural observations. No fluff, just authentic dialogue that transforms chaos into clarity.
Hello.
Hello, hello.
Here we are.
Hello. It's cold. It was supposed to be warm now, and it's cold again in New Jersey.
I think it's that way in a lot of places. It was really snowing up in Vermont. I have old friends up there, and they were sharing videos. It was like a snowstorm kind of thing.
Yeah, actually, I talked to Lori in Denver on Monday, and they were having snow on Monday too.
Yeah.
So, but okay, so let's kick us off. Over the past week, what has gone well?
I think this week was about, for me, getting back in the groove, getting back at it, coming off of the trip. It was definitely an adjustment. Not really the time zone thing, that didn't bother me, but just getting back into the normal schedules. So I had a full slate of, client briefings, client calls, a lot of planning for the big event in October already, and my role there, back in the tennis flow, sort of getting things with schedules, normalized or in the flow. And I think I'm definitely, even though it's cold, I'm looking forward to the weather breaking and just, it feels like spring. It looks like spring. It smells like spring, so
Yeah,
looking forward to that.
yeah, I agree, and looking forward to tennis as well. And I did not mention this to you, but my outfit that I wore to tennis class on Sunday, like, I was not I've grown a little bit since I bought that. And so I was like kept adjusting myself and it was so uncomfortable. And I violated my own rule, which is like always be comfortable because you can't really do your best work when you're not comfortable.
Okay. Well, you looked great. You looked fine. So, but this is about what went well. So what went well?
Yes. Okay, good. Good point. Good point. Thank you for keeping me on the good path. Okay, so I saw some stand-up comedy with a bunch of my amigas from Sana Yoga on Friday night. The comedian's name is Ida Rodriguez, and she has a bunch of stand-up specials, and she's got a movie coming out this year. And but I wasn't, she's one of those comics who you've seen around, but it was just very cool to go to see her show. It was at the New Jersey Pack in Newark, and I hadn't been there in a while, and it was like a smaller theater. I think the last time I was there was when Maeve, Mima and I took Maeve to Paw Patrol Live. So it's been a long time.
That's where Paw Patrol, I imagine that Paw Patrol Live was in like the Prudential Center, like the big thing. No?
No,
Okay.
it was at the NJ Pack. So, but they have they had 3 different events going on that night. So they sectioned off and it was neat. It was a cool little theater. I think I was in the second row. And we just had a nice time and it was really fun. And then we had, fun plans outside with our friends on Saturday night, Amanda and Shane, firing up the first fire pit of the season, which is fun to think of summer coming. And trying to think of what else. Oh, on Friday went to a really cool event at Rutgers called Improv for Democracy, and it was about how to break through polarizing environments and get people to talk with each other. And namely in classrooms, most of the people there were all professors. And, they were saying you can't really always establish a culture in a classroom because you don't have as much of a sustained time as you could have like in a workplace. Like it's more transitory. However, you can create a climate, which I liked that, whatever that is, phrasing. But I think as I described to you, there were a lot of icebreakers and when you're an introvert, you're like, oh my God, not these icebreakers. So it's like, you got to find that perfect blend of getting people to talk to each other without, making it just so freaking awkward and dreadful.
Yeah.
But overall, yeah, it was just a good week with a lot of activity.
Yeah. Very productive.
Yeah. Okay, so that's what went well. What could have been better?
So I was thinking about what could have been better, and it's very true, but I almost feel lazy just, falling back on the, like, the gloom and doom, and with what's happening coming out of Washington and all that. But I think the, the so as an entrepreneur, there's this balance where you have those feelings of like the pending economic and societal doom, right? And then you because you I always like the phrase I've grown up hearing is like you eat what you kill. You're an entrepreneur, so you're making what you have. And so you have this urge then to work harder, and to account for this, my God, the other shoe's gonna drop.
Yeah.
And like even
Winter
during
is coming
yeah,
in the
exactly.
lexicon of Game of
Yeah,
Thrones.
exactly. And like for an example, like when the pandemic was upon us, other than like a brief little pause in my world, but really there was never a massive impact for me from a business perspective. But
Yeah.
for a long time, I was like working as though I'm like a child of the Great Depression or something. Like I'm like, oh my God, taking on, too much. And so even though you know that, you can only work so hard, and you know how much time there is, and it's about working smart. There's only so much you can do. You plan the work, you work the plan. And so like I find myself on a lot of days, like I do a full, I don't know how many hours, I don't count hours, but I put a lot in, and then I'm like, yeah, I'm going to come back down later tonight, and I'm going to like do this thing when I can just be like in my bubble. But then I'm too tired and I don't it's like a constant, balancing the fear with the work with, and there's no, it's all for naught because, it all gets done, but it's like, that could be better. That could definitely be better.
Yeah. It's, the environment, the uncertainty of the environment it feels very, very uncertain. There's the stock market, uh, disclaimer, past performance does not predict future results. And you slap that label on everything as a CYA, but it really is true. We don't really know what's going to happen. And it's,
And nothing makes sense anymore. Like I just finished going through all the numbers for my market, all the merger and acquisition activity, also all the funding activity. And it's like, I don't know anymore. Like, I don't know, like everything's like, boom time in a way,
yeah,
much better than you would expect. I'll put it that way. Not boom time,
yeah,
but like and it's just like, this doesn't make, I don't want it to not be good, but
right.
it, as I'm starting the process, there's a sense of dread, like, oh my God, what's this going to tell me? And it's like, oh,
Yeah.
wow, this is actually pretty good. So which doesn't make sense, but you just,
But maybe it really is this past performance does not predict future results. Every time I hear pundits saying, well, we're due for this or we're due for that. And it's like, how do you know? Like, really, like 250 years is not that long of a time,
hmm.
Like, if you zoom out to history, So,
Yeah, well, you think about how many, generations, like, my dad was born in 1932, and then you think there was only like a few families before that time frame,
exactly.
it's,
Yeah. It's like
yeah,
universalizing this tiny little bit of experience. But it makes you feel better until it doesn't.
right. But what about you? What could be better on your side?
Okay, so what could be better? I shared this with you, but I'm going to share it with our listeners. Oh my God, I got into an AI slop flyer designing hellscape because, okay, so graphic design. I've been working with graphic designers for decades. I love designers. I love creative people. I value their expertise. They're better at it than I am, and there's a real skill to it. That said, when you don't have funds to do stuff, you can do it yourself or you have to do it yourself. Of course, I'm going to make a flyer using Canva or Photoshop or whatever it is. Well, in this case, some colleagues from the nonprofit I'm working with created a flyer, and it had so much information on it, like probably twice the amount of like actual content that should be on a flyer. And it also had missing things. And then so it was generated in AI. So then to fix the mistakes, you have to use AI. But then it puts new mistakes in. And I mean, my Lord, I can't tell you how much time I spent trying to fix this stupid flyer using Gemini, and forget it. Claude can't do it at all. Claude is useless with that. And yeah, it was a real headache. And I miss designers, real designers. Okay, so that was bad. What else was, just the, obvious world events, blaming the self-created oil crisis on all these factors that, it was 100% cause and effect, 100% one man's fault and his enablers. And then there was another thing, Palantir publishing some, provocative tweets today or recently about Alexander Karp, their CEO, that Silicon Valley should be bowing down to the U.S. government for giving them, all this opportunity and blah, 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 blah. Anyway, I actually read his book. I literally got it out from the library and read it. And I don't know if he wrote it or his ghostwriter person wrote it, but I just don't think that these bellicose, very wacky-minded Silicon Valley extreme tech mercenaries should be deciding the fate of the world. It's just, it's so disturbing when you learn more about them. Yeah. So definitely could be better.
That certainly could be better.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So lastly, what did you learn this week?
So there were a few things. The first thing that is fun, and this is really, I just learned this morning. I think it came out into the world, and this is really for you. So Ireland released 1926 census, and it's free to search. And the reason that matters is because that was the first year that they were an independent state. And so they did prior to that, all of the records were most of them were destroyed in, skirmishes and whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
So you can go search it, and you can, your descendants, and as well as famous people like Yeats and whatnot are expected to be in there. But that was an interesting thing. Like I think, the perspective that was the first year Ireland was independent and what it means. I heard an Irish comedian saying, he said, he was looking back at his family and he said, oh my God, the number of people that they had in one house, that's what really stood out to him. It was ridiculous. But anyhow, I thought that you might find that interesting. On the personal front, I just continue to explore and learn with all this AI stuff. I feel like I'm really getting a handle on like the variety of tools and what they're good for. And I still have a lot of open items on my list about exciting things that I can do. But I had shut off Microsoft's Copilot this week because I really wasn't using it for anything meaningful anymore. And I started working with Claude. So I've been learning, where Claude really excels. And I think it's what I'm figuring out, and this sort of maps to what everybody's talking about in the headlines, is like leveraging, my body of work to augment my capacity while I'm also improving what I'm doing. But I'm feeding it with all of my stuff and asking for perspective and summary and my voice, and then taking it from there and creating based on how it's giving me input. So it's really leveraging it like I've got like a sidekick or two or an intern or something, helping me organize and helping me summarize. And on the technical front, it's been just super helpful in things that would have taken me so long to figure out. It already knows, and I'm a few clicks in and off and running on some things that I'm doing now. So that was cool. The last thing I'll say, also related to AI, is so on Instagram and LinkedIn, I kept getting hit with this Tony Robbins free online seminar. And I rolled my eyes too, but it's all about AI. It's all about, leveraging AI and making the most of this opportunity. And so it's not the content. Like, I don't think there's anything there I've learned the seminar hasn't happened yet or anything like that. It's free. But going through, I was thinking, if they know anything, they know how to get people engaged and get people to attend something and take part. So as a marketer, I was really curious about it. And it's been really interesting to just go through their registration process and see how they turn free into, "Oh, but this one thing over here, this costs $1, and that's a trial. And that turns into $35 a month. And, it's just really interesting to watch them opportunistically capitalize on this thing. But as a marketer, I just found it, they've got an incredible automated process for, just putting the little breadcrumbs in front of you, trying to get you to, pick them up. So I just been learning on that from a content perspective. That's been kind of silly and fun to watch. Yeah. What about you? What have you learned?
So I today got to interview an Oscar nominated writer director. His name is Paolo Dorji. He is the writer director creator of the film Lunana, a yak in the classroom, and it's a beautiful film. Everyone should watch it. It's on Amazon Prime Video, and it is about education in the country of Bhutan. And I wanted to follow up on what happened to the main character, one of the main characters in the film, and find out how she's doing now, because the character in the film is actually a real life person. And I wanted to know how she was doing. So I was trying to get in touch with her. And anyway, I got in touch with the director. He couldn't have been kinder and more interesting and fascinating, and just, that creative mind and the projects he's working on. It was very cool. So specifically, I will highlight, I'm going to share with everyone my larger project on education in Bhutan after it's done. And it includes a transcript of this interview that I'm referencing. But he taught me so much about education in that country and the Buddhist philosophy and traditions, how it kind of weaves into everyday life. And one of the concepts was circumambulate. Have you ever heard of circumambulating?
No.
So it is a concept in Buddhism and kind of this philosophy of, instead of just going straight to something, you in reverence and respect and honor something, you walk around it to take in the energy. So, like a Zen garden, how it's like circles, but the Buddha himself was such a magnetic force and such a contagious, people wanted to be around him. They were magnetized to him and would kind of circumambulate was the term. And I'd heard that word. It wasn't like a totally foreign word, but it was the first time I actually thought about the meaning of it. And he talked about how creating that film was his process of circumambulating to his culture, being born in growing up in Bhutan, but leaving and writing a film about it and really exploring the culture in a multifaceted way. And it was just so energizing. He's going to come to NYU,
Oh, cool.
which I'm excited about. And I was talking to him about education today, but we're going to have another conversation about the filmmaking process. And he has an upcoming project with Yo-Yo Ma, the cellist.
Oh, wow.
Which is so fascinating. He's a very interesting. I love hearing him. I love his music. I also love hearing his philosophy and when he talks about things. So it was very exciting.
That's great. And is he
Yeah.
going to NYU for your class or for?
No, it's when they release their film, if he's in New York, he'll come. But if he's not, and if he's available, I would love to have him, join virtually at a minimum.
Hey.
And yeah, I'm so delighted. It was just, one of those conversations where I was so energized by him. Just a brilliant, expansive mind, expansive conversation. All right.
All
Well,
right.
thank
We did
you.
it.
Yes, we
Thank you.
did. Thank you everyone for listening.
Yeah. Or watching. I
Or
hope
what?
they're just listening,
Yes.
though.
Yeah.
All right. Till next time.
Ciao.